The year was 1941. It was a period when several parts of continental Europe were under the Nazi flag or its allies, a time when German tanks rolled into Russia and bombs kept falling over London. In the center of this chaos, one of the most purposeful and secret archaeological explorations in history was underway in the Vatican. Though the mysterious epic excavation started as an accident, what the Vatican discovered would generate decades of controversies. It was during the dangerous and challenging years of the Second World War. A year before, Pope Pius X authorized a thorough reconstruction of the Vatican grottos, St. Peter's Basilica's undercroft. However, the following year, in 1941, the workers discovered the Sateni Mausoleum, dating between 130 and 170 AD. It was a critical discovery, as archaeologists declared when called. Their recommendation was a full-scale excavation of the area. Since Pope Pius wanted the project to commence without a hitch, he created a commission. He assigned a team of professionals responsible for maintaining St. Peter's Basilica to supervise the project. Among the scholars, the Pope assigned to the project was Antonio Ferrua, S.J., an expert on the catacomb. Antonio was also a leading scholar of epigraphy, the study of ancient Christian inscriptions. Pope Pius also engaged Monsignor Ludwig Kaas, an administrator of St. Peter's Basilica and one of his closest advisors as the project manager. The Pope commissioned the team to search for other Christian-era tombs, especially St. Peter's tomb. The team swore to Pope Pius V to keep the project secret from the outside world. As the work commenced, the workers uncovered several magnificent ancient monuments. A more crucial discovery was a mausoleum wall with an inscription indicating that Peter's tomb was near, the main Peter from the Bible, the one who denied Jesus. If they could find the bones of one of the disciples of Jesus, this could change everything. It will be one of the greatest finds of the decade. Among other discoveries were two important walls: the graffiti wall, dating back to around 250, and the red wall, designed with bricks from Emperor Marcus Aurelius's period. One look at the graffiti wall revealed many marks, clearly symbols and names belonging to Romans, which the Ferrua team found unintelligible. The team's big mistake was dismissing the wall as insignificant, which would later prove disastrous. However, the team was frantically searching for St. Peter's grave, with the inscription they found earlier that said that Peter's bone was near. They were so in a hurry that they treated ancient artifacts and bones with complete disrespect, even damaging them in the process. When Father Caius saw this, he was horrified by their disrespect for the dead. Caius came to the site at night and collected the bones the team left behind. He placed them in a box, labeled them, and dated them with the location of their discovery. Father Caius put the box away somewhere safe and didn't mention this to anyone. By 1942, the same Ferrua team discovered the original basilica, built by Constantine. They found beautiful murals of saints inside the basilica that confirmed the monument's Christian origin, Christian votive offerings, and various coins dating back to 14 AD. The excitement of their discovery led them to dig under the tomb and discover more artifacts. Then, they found a tiny opening close to the base of the red wall, where they saw bones. That was when the team summoned Pope Pius XIII. Together with the team, they were convinced they had discovered enough evidence to conclude that the bones were Peter's. The Pope directed them to place the bones in lead-lined boxes and move them to his apartment, where they would be for several years. World War II still ravaged many countries, and Pius X focused on excavation and ignoring the devastation the war could bring Rome. However, the attack on the rail yards in Rome by over 900 Allied bombers that killed more than 4,500 Romans was not something to ignore. The rail yards were used to support Axis troops in the south. From 1943 to 1944, Rome witnessed more Allied raids. the Vatican became alert and, with others, tried hard to persuade the Americans to stop attacking Rome. It was a miracle that Rome was not destroyed, and the Vatican's basilica survived the attacks. It was actually a priest from Pittsburgh who had a close tie with the Vatican that saved Rome. The priest, Walter Carroll, rode to Rome in June 1944 with Bedell Smith, Eisenhower's chief of staff, and General Clark. They had a crucial meeting with Pope Pius, and the aftermath of the meeting saved Rome from destruction. The secret of what was discovered in the Vatican remained until August 22, 1949, when Camille Gianfara, an Italian journalist, published the excavation story. It was a front-page story in the New York Times, headlined, "Bones of St. Peter Found." The Times magazine also published a story about the discovery. It was no longer a secret by this time, and someone must have leaked it. After a year, Pope Pius X confirmed in a radio address that the Vatican had discovered Peter's bone. However, more testing was needed. A few years later, in May 1952, Peter's presumed bones rested in the Pope's apartment. By then, all kinds of journals celebrated the Pharaoh team, considered pioneers and geniuses in archaeology. However, their celebration was short-lived because a non-Vatican expert epigraphist would arrive at the Vatican and crash the party. Margherita Guarducci was a professor of epigraphy at the University of Rome and a world-renowned archaeologist. First, Guarducci was shocked to discover all the damage the Pharaoh team had done in the necropolis. She even found the importance of the markings on the wall dismissed by the Pharaoh team. She decrypted the meaning of the markings to mean Christian men buried near your body. Her quick but significant discovery elevated Margherita to the head of the excavation by Pope Pius X, degrading the Pharaoh team in the process. Pharaoh was furious, and for years he charged at Guarducci, calling her all sorts of names, including being an interloper who preys on the glory of his work. But the worst was still coming to Pharaoh when the Pope ordered him to return an inscription he removed from the necropolis. This led Margherita to discover a hole near the trophy of Gaius at the bottom of the graffiti wall. It also led her to uncover the wholly forgotten box Cass had put away for many years. When she put the inscription removed by Pharaoh, she was shocked to discover what it read, "Peter is within." Further examination of the interior brought her to find Peter's name inscribed over 20 times. Then she presented the bone brought by Cass to Professor Venerando Correnti of Palermo University. After examining the bones, Correnti determined that the bones, to be those if a 60 to 70-year-old robust male, approximately Peter's supposed age when he died, the remains, had once been covered with an early purple and gold cloth, whose dye was of a type only used by imperial Romans of the 1st to 3rd centuries. Amazingly, the bones were also compatible with the remains of a person crucified upside down. The feet had been viciously cut off, as the Romans were wont to do when removing a crucified corpse, because it was easier than removing nails. By late 1964, it was inevitable that Peter's bones had been found. On June 26, 1968, Pope Paul VI announced to the world that the Vatican had discovered Peter's bones, concluding that the Vatican had identified the bone fragments Margherita Guarducci recovered from the necropolis as the authentic bones belonging to St. Peter. After that, the bones were stored in fiberglass boxes in the graffiti wall niche, where they had been discovered more than 25 years before. This discovery by the Vatican created decades of controversies among the papacy's believers and disbelievers. For many years, it puts many Christians in a frenzy to attack one another with quotes from different parts of the Bible. People continue to question the authenticity of this discovery, leading to many questions, including whether or not Peter was ever in Rome in the first place. or whether the Vatican staged this discovery to attract veneration. The Vatican has been synonymous with mystery. It is one of the most secretive institutions that the world has ever known. For many years, the Vatican has been rocked by several scandals, all of which have tarnished the image and reputation of the Catholic Church. After all, the Vatican has been accused of being unfair about the Jewish affair against the massacre during World War II. Even worse, making a fortune from the Holocaust. Apart from knowing what the Nazis were doing, the Church was frozen by fear and indecision. The Second World War saw the Vatican abdicating its moral position as the head of the world's largest religion. At a crucial time of the war, it continued to make a fortune while people continued to commit murder. In the course of World War II, the Vatican aided the escape of thousands of Nazis from Europe, while taking part in helping smuggle Nazis' looted golf, art, and other properties belonging to Jewish families. In his book, God's Bankers, A History of Money and Power at the Vatican, Gerald Posner said that Bernardino Nogara, the Vatican financial advisor, was believed to have been a Nazi spy. Nogara created a horrifying scheme that allowed the Church to invest money in Italian insurance firms, keeping assets from the insurance plans of the murdered Jewish families. The Vatican made money as an investor and not a direct insurer. Through the scheme, the Vatican didn't have to worry about returning any money it made. The Vatican Bank has been plagued by scandals involving laundering money for various Italian gangs for decades. The Vatican's links to the influential Italian criminal organizations have been hard to define, even though the Church denied it. The Vatican also has a long history of child sexual abuse, high-profile cases, and harrowing testimonies given to public inquiries that have kept the issues in the headlines. A school in Rome would report the first of such cases in 1626. As with any such cases, Joseph Calasanz, the Spanish priest who established the institute, wanted to hide the disgrace from the Church. Instead of allowing the accused priest to face justice, the Church actually promoted him. Unknown to them, they had set a standard that would replay in the Church for centuries. Several decades later, starting from 1950, the number of sexually abused victims by priests was so alarming, acknowledging how the Church has been showing a cruel indifference towards the victims. There are also secret networks of doctors, priests, nuns, and nurses who conspired to steal as many as 3,000 Spanish babies. The event spanned over 5 decades in Spanish hospitals, managed by the Church. There was also the Vati leak, where several confidential papal documents were released publicly. Pope Benedict would have a perfect narration to tell anyone about not trusting anyone close to you when his butler secretly copied his personal documents for many years and leaking to the public through the book Your Holiness, The Secret Papers of Benedict XVI, authored by an Italian journalist, Gianluigi Nuzzi. With all these scandals in an institution, telling the world about finding the bones of St. Peter is a big deal. Why should I believe anything the Vatican is saying? Besides, another discovery of St. Peter's tomb in Jerusalem has revealed another angle to the whole truth. The discovery of St. Peter's tomb in Jerusalem in 1953 undermined the whole Catholic Church's foundation, exposing the Vatican possibly as a fraud. Franciscan priests in Jerusalem claimed that the bones of Peter were found in Jerusalem on the Franciscan monastery site called Dominus Flevit on the Mount of Olive, the same site Jesus supposedly wept over Jerusalem. Dominus Flevit also hosted the names of Christian Bible characters on the bone boxes, with the names of Martha and Mary found on one box and their brother Lazarus next to it. However, the most remarkable finding within the 12 feet of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus was the remains of St. Peter, written in perfect Aramaic. In Roman culture, the grave of someone who died about 10 years ago would be opened. Then, they would place the bones of the person in a small ossuary with their name carefully written on the box. They would then place these ossuaries, as in the case of this Christian burial ground in Jerusalem. The Roman Catholic believed that Peter was pope in Rome from 41 to 66 AD, a period of 25 years. However, the Bible tells a different story. According to the Acts of the Apostles, Peter preached the gospel to the circumcision, the Jews, in Caesarea and Joppa in Palestine, and ministered to the household of Cornelius, which is 1,800 miles from Rome, which you can read in Acts chapter 10, verse 23 and 24. Later, about 44 AD, in Acts 12, Herod cast Peter into prison in Jerusalem, but an angel released him. Peter left Jerusalem and went to Babylon. Peter is not mentioned again until the Jerusalem Conference in 49 AD, which you can find in Acts chapter 15, verse 7. Saul was converted in 33 AD and became Paul the Apostle. That's in Acts 9. Paul explains that 3 years after his conversion in 36 AD, he went up to Jerusalem to see Peter, Galatians 1:18, and 14 years later, in 49 AD, he again went up to Jerusalem, Galater 2:1-8. Soon after, he met Peter in Antioch, and as Paul says, he withstood him to the face, because he was to be blamed. The truth is clear, and the evidence is abundant in the Scripture. Most people think the church lied about the resting place of Peter to garner recognition and faith from the whole Christian faith. It is like trying to hide the truth from the public, just as the Vatican has successfully hidden so many mysteries in its hidden vault. This hidden vault holds many secrets, ranging from the skeletal relics of non-humanoid extraterrestrial life to the third secret of Fatima and the Vatican's very own Black Book. So, with all these scandals and lies told over centuries, you can see why people don't believe in anything the Vatican has to say. But, just as the Vatican is wrong for all the atrocities committed, some of the theories against them are also wrong and founded based on assumption, and in some cases, mispronounced statements. Beyond being an institution shrouded in intrigue and mystery, it is critical to see far off many dark truths and rumors surrounding the Vatican. I want to get the ball rolling on this by clarifying one of the things associated with the Vatican, the term secret. Many people ascribe the term secret to the Vatican, and the origin of such a word can be found in the Latin Archivium Secretum Vaticanum, and the term secretum in Latin doesn't necessarily mean secret. It can be termed as set apart, separate, or private. Many documents people ascribe to be secretive about the Vatican can be accessed, since they are indexed for scholarly research at the Vatican's Leo Thede Index Room. There are claims that the Vatican removed 14 books from the Bible, but I discovered that these missing books are called the Apocrypha, a Greek term that means hidden. These Apocrypha books include the Prayer of Manasseh, the story of Bel and the Dragon, the story of Susanna, 4 Maccabees, Baruch, the Wisdom of Solomon, and so on. Before blaming the Vatican, it is critical to ask why these books were removed from the Bible. Several claims are made regarding these issues. Some said they were removed because the missing books made the Bible confusing and too long. Others said the book's content didn't fit in with Roman Catholic doctrine. But are these true? The Protestant Church started setting aside these books from the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Vatican kept these missing books available for anyone who wants to peruse them. Many claims of secret archives in the Vatican have no sufficient proof. The alleged disturbing information Genrikh Ludwig, a Russian professor, claimed he came across when he gained access to the Vatican's secret archives in the 1920s lacked evidence. He claimed that he read in the archives about how aliens had influenced most ancient civilizations, including the Egyptians and the Mayans. Genrikh even alleged to have discovered historical reports of nuclear-based weapons used in ancient times, which produced monstrous temperatures to melt down the walls of Babylon. If the professor truly entered the Vatican, he couldn't provide any evidence. and he was the only one who had claimed to have seen those documents. But that's not all. The one that got me in awe the most was the claim on the 3 secrets of Fatima. Here's it. It was the biggest prophecy of all time, from the 3 young Portuguese shepherds who claimed that an apparition of the Virgin Mary visited them 6 times, giving them 3 apocalyptic prophetic secrets. This happened in 1917. By 1943, the leader of the 3 shepherd children, Lucia Santos, revealed 2 of the prophecies and claimed that she couldn't reveal the 3rd prophecy because God was not ready for her. She ended up writing down these prophecies. What I took away from this revelation is that no one can determine whether or not the Virgin Mary visited these children, or even if the prophecy was true. Many people believe that the Vatican did not publish Lucia's exact prophecy, kept the secret to themselves, and released something else. Another terrible claim about the Vatican was the news of the UFO visiting the Vatican. It happened in 2007 when people spotted a mysterious silver-orange glowing disc hovering over the Vatican. The story traveled fast and wide that something seemingly alien and strange hovered above the Vatican in broad daylight. The event generated a lot of comments about the Vatican knowing something about the UFO. However, there is no evidence of this claim. Something strange appeared that day, but no one knows if it came from outer space. What if it was the camera lens of someone, or merely a fleck? If you believe the Vatican was in contact with extraterrestrial beings, let me know your theories, no matter how crazy they are, in the comment section below. But moving on, I have considered the Vatican a country on its own. However, many questions keep coming to mind. What are they hiding? Or, what do you think they are hiding? I don't think the church is hiding anything because anyone with the proper credentials can access the ancient evidence of what the Vatican was supposed to be hiding in the first place. The only reason why most people can't access some of the codex, which just means ancient manuscript books with handwritten contents, is because those books are so old and fragile that they don't stand a chance with your breath. Talk more of you touching and holding them. So if everyone was given a chance to hold and possibly destroy all these old manuscripts, what would be left for future generations? Plus, we would lose all of our history in less than a decade. So, preventing people is only done for preservation's sake mostly. Though there are so many conspiracy theories about the Vatican, there are revealing explanations for some of these theories, especially the discovery of St. Peter's bones under the Basilica of St. Peter. Many controversies abound about it, but it is still authentic that St. Peter was in Rome, ministered there, was imprisoned, and martyred by Emperor Nero. So, he died in Rome and not in Jerusalem. What gives me that verity is that St. Peter's grave is not hidden in some obscure vault. You can see it when standing directly beneath the cupola lantern and looking down through the grid on the floor. And you can even visit it when booking a ticket for the necropole. The Vatican may look like an austere religious organization from the outside. Still, they have their prophecies and secrets, many of which, it is assumed, they would prefer outsiders not to know about. Whether these secrets are simply products of speculations or hold any significant truth, they will continue to capture the imagination and curiosity of billions of people worldwide.